Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode number 3 of the Best Coast Sports Connection. Andy Bishop, your host, along with my co-host, Brian Vilvan. How are you, sir?
Excellent. Is it getting easier to say?
I did not
Sports
do as
Connection.
good as on that one as I should have. Also joined by Thomas Conroy, our producer. Greetings.
Hello there.
Good to have you. The connection has survived another week.
It has.
We are here, and this is the week of sports talk that I dreaded here in mid-July. NBA free agency storm has settled. NFL still a couple weeks away from training camp.
Yep.
Major League Baseball in the midst of its long season. And that's about all I got.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's exciting that's happening today
Yes.
Here in San Diego, from a local perspective, is the opening of the Del Mar racing season, which is always a spectacle up on opening day at Del Mar. Have either of you guys ever been to opening day?
Thomas.
Yes, I have. Yeah, it's one
Care
of
to
the,
expand?
He has. Boom.
He has.
It
All right,
was-
moving on.
It was pretty amazing. Like I love the atmosphere, everybody dressed up, and obviously the hats and
Yep.
and all but just the pageantry. You felt like you were at a major event, and they treated it like that at Del Mar. So I enjoyed it the one time I went.
Yep.
I went last year for my
nice.
first time ever, and I went early. Like, I got there
Got
at
to.
10
Yeah.
because I wanted to do some networking with some folks and just catch all the action. I was there till, 5 or 6. Still recovering a year later. So I decided to go low-key this year and not attend.
Nice. Yeah, I've gone to opening day one time. I've gone to the track growing up here in San Diego. We would go every year as a family. My parents would take us. We'd do a little picnicking. We'd go to the infield sometimes, but normally like right along the rail near the finish line. But only been to opening day one time. And I had a really nice time, from what I remember. We took the coaster up there, which was really cool. Took it from downtown San Diego. And at the time, you were allowed to drink on the coaster, so that was a crazy party in itself. Drops you off up at the Solana Beach station, and they take little shuttles over to Del Mar. It's really smooth, a lot of fun, and yeah, like Thomas said, it's a lot of pageantry. Really cool event.
Yeah, that double-decker bus. It really is kind of fun driving over to the track.
Feel like you're in
London?
London, exactly.
Yeah. I just remember last year I took more than a handful, a lot of photos of just people. It's a people watching endeavor, and I remember just texting some of my friends and family these ridiculous outfits and hats and all that kind of thing. So it's worth it, you know.
Yeah, it totally is. It's and it's a July tradition. The year that I went, now that I'm thinking about it, was the year that we had the All-Star game here in San Diego. So that July was incredible because it started off, 4th of July, a lot of stuff going on, and then the All-Star game was in town, and then opening day at Del Mar, and then Comic-Con. And for the month of July, it was, totally bananas in downtown. I was living in downtown at the time, and that is a summer to remember.
Yeah, if I remember, Comic-Con was either the week before the All-Star game or the week after.
I think it was the week after.
Yeah, it was such a crazy time.
Those few weeks where
I was working down there a little bit, and it was just like people seemed like we're on the streets 24/7.
Yep.
So I mean that kind of begs the question: where does this day rank in terms of San Diego sporting events or spectacles? Obviously, opening day with the Padres is near the top of that list, if not at the top.
Yeah.
Is there any other type of event that comes to your mind that's up there with the races?
Well, from my perspective, I think the Farmers Insurance Open or the Buick Invitational, as it used to be called, that a lot of people
Andy
still
Williams, classic, way back in the day. Sorry, it's like 50s and 60s.
You're dating
I just
yourself.
know
That's
a lot
a
of my
great one.
stories from my grandma who's volunteered.
So that's a big one for me, but I know it doesn't get, it's not like the party. It's not like we're at TPC Scottsdale or anything. So in terms of pageantry and party, I really do think opening day at Del Mar, it takes the cake in that regard. Padres opening day this year more so than others because there were such high expectations and excitement with the team. I know this opening day was just crazy, and we didn't have to play the Dodgers, so we weren't going to lose the game before it even started. I don't know. I think Del Mar opening day is right up there. What do you think, Andy?
It's definitely up there. I think for me, opening day with the Padres tops the list, just because I care about baseball a little bit more than racing or betting or gambling, probably just because I suck at it. But for me, it's definitely the Padres. Downtown atmosphere is crazy, and then obviously with the game itself. So, Thomas?
I'm going to add the KGB Sky Show over here at Qualcomm. Yeah. That, to me, when I moved here, those were the 3 musts I always wanted to go to, or the ones you guys mentioned. And then as I got older, I liked the golf tournament too. That was fun when I went, and I was fortunate where I was working. I got to see the playoff at the 2008 U.S. Open between Woods and
Rocco Mediate.
And that was amazing itself.
I have an interesting thought about the KGB Sky Show. I think it's an amazing event. I understand why the Aztecs play against like UC Davis or a Weber State type team,
San Jose State,
because it's a chance. Now you know you're going to get a big crowd, so you pick the game on the schedule where maybe 5,000, 10,000 people would go, and it turns into a 50,000 person event. But I would love to see the Sky Show one year in like the Stanford game, or one of the Pac-12 games that you're going to host, UCLA, something like that, where you're already going to get a big crowd, but now you actually take it to capacity, 70,000. The place is going crazy. I don't want to see them playing against Stanford with 30,000 people in the crowd. Even 45 in Qualcomm looks small. So I don't know. I mean, I totally understand from a marketing perspective why they play against their 1AA opponent for the Sky Show each year, but I'd love to see that be the Pac-12 game and really pack that place out.
Yeah, I agree. One other event that comes to mind, I think for a few years it was definitely up there, was San Diego State Aztecs basketball games.
Oh yeah,
when Kawhi was here, and even for just a several-year stretch when Coach Fisher was still there. The teams just haven't quite been as good or notable lately, so you aren't seeing quite the crowds that you saw during that stretch, but that atmosphere that I experienced a few times was up there for sure.
Yeah, when they would play against New Mexico or UNLV,
BYU with
Jimmer. Yeah, totally. The show was bringing the heat still at that time, and things have slowed down a little bit, but I think they're picking back up on the Mesa. It's just such a fun arena, and it's big time D1 sports in this town. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, we talked about opening day with the Padres. Let's transition slightly into their state of the team. Well, we were high on them last week after the All-Star break, and now we're in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. Got swept by Atlanta here in San Diego, and then we're in Miami right now, and we lost last night. Any thoughts currently this week about Los Padres?
Well, I mean, everything is magnified because the All-Star break, anything that happens before or immediately after the All-Star break is going to be magnified because you have those 4 days off, which in a baseball season feels like an eternity. Football, you have a week in between games all year, so there's always, it's time to get overly hyped or overly dejected about any result. That's why we were so high on the Padres after the 3 wins in a row at Chavez Ravine. And now, coming off of 4 off days, then the next 4 days you lose all those games, and now you're talking about it's been over a week since we've won. And, yeah, tensions are running high. We're 4 games below 500, back in last place in the NL West because the Giants have been on a total tear. But I'm trying to keep a cool head about this, be calm and collected about it, because it is just 4 games over 162. And we are still in Miami, and we get 2 more against the Marlins the next 2 days. So just got to handle that business. If we get swept in Miami and all of a sudden we're going into Chicago to play the Cubs, 6 games below 500, then there's cause for concern. But until today and tomorrow happen, I'm not going to lose the faith. I'm gonna keep on believing.
Got to keep believing. We are at this moment in the cellar of the National League West, which weren't necessarily used to this season.
Didn't see that coming.
No. Giants are playing a little bit better ball. The thing that is nice is Washington and Philadelphia are at the top of the wild card standings. They would be the 2 wild cards that would get in for that 1-game playoff. There are 9 other teams within 5.5 games of them. the Padres are only 3.5 games back. If we get a little hot streak, we're back there in it.
That's every single team except for the Marlins are still in this thing, which is totally nuts. And last week, Thomas was saying that he thinks the Padres are going to be a wild card contender all year. So with a week or so to meditate on that, Thomas, how you feeling about that prediction?
Listen, don't blame me for this losing streak because I gave them the kiss of death by saying they're going to be wild card contenders. To me, I agree with all your points, but the one thing that I love about baseball is how it's such an up and down season for any team, and I just think they're just going right now through a bad stretch, and I think it's part of the growing process with the Padres. I think it's hard to come off a high. The way they handled the series up in LA, winning 3 out of 4, and then coming right back off of a week's vacation and just playing listless baseball. I went to Sunday's game, and they were down 4-0, and everybody in my section was like, "Oh, this is it. I'm out of here." And I'm like, "No way, man! They're gonna make it some type of a game." And they had bases loaded. They just couldn't get that one big hit. And I just think that's just part of the development of this team. And I'm excited about the team. I know they're in last place, and I know it looks bad right now, but I'm keeping my hope up because I really like the makings of this team.
That's something that I think is unique to this particular Padre team is that no matter if they get down early or how far down they get, you still feel like there's a chance. Yeah. They've had some epic comebacks throughout the course of this year, and even Sunday they had a chance. Last night it looked like they had an opportunity to come back, even though they were down 11-3 and down 11-4 late. They scored 3 runs, but it's always you're a bloop and a blast away from tying it back up. And I don't know, that's a unique thing to this team that I think shows a sign towards moving, in the right direction going forward. And have we had this good of an offense in, 20 years in San Diego? I don't know.
I don't think so, and that's what gives me so much hope. But, we've continued to talk about it, the pitching struggles. It's frustrating on a number of levels. There's just not really too many people in the bullpen that you can trust, and our starters are even a little rocky. Yep. So, but we obviously see the potential in some of our pitchers, and we know we've got a good pipeline coming up. So,
and the youngest staff in the league, I believe. So, we'll be all right.
Fingers crossed. Keep the faith. All right, where should we go from here, gentlemen? It's a light week in sports.
It is. It's a one of those weeks where you just wish you could turn on the AM dial and listen to some sports talk radio.
Well, let's talk about that. I think there's some room for that conversation. You and me, Brian, growing up in San Diego, and Thomas here being here for some time, we loved listening to radio. Yep. And it's hard to know what will become of radio. A lot of people are saying it's dying a slow death. We're lacking that a little bit here in San Diego as one of the main radio stations. 1090 closed down a couple months back. Where are you at mentally with the state of sports radio, especially here in San Diego?
Well, it's kind of feels like a purgatory because there's always right now there's talk of 1090 coming back on the air and someone coming in and buying it, or Scott Kaplan getting a group together to get it back on the air. So you still have that hope that there will be another station, another 1090. I think, for me, the biggest thing that we're missing out on is Darren Smith. Mm-hmm. He was an institution on midday talk radio in San Diego, and they joke around and play the promos of great question and that kind of thing, but he really is as good as I've ever heard on the radio. He does amazing interviews. I like his takes. He doesn't get too up or too down about anything. He's got great connections from all his time at ESPN. So I just loved he would bring a bit of a national perspective to things, but still tie it into San Diego. And, that kind of perspective that's been missing, one of the reasons that we wanted to get talking about things. I thought he did that better than anyone has. Mm-hmm. never really got on board with 1360 too much because they were so football centric in my mind, and maybe that's me not giving them much of a chance and typecasting that group a little bit, but I just never really got on board there. 97.3, I'm trying to get on board. I'm listening. That's pretty much the station that I have it tuned to all day, and trying to give everybody a chance on there. I love Ben and Woods.
Yep.
They were 1090 cast-offs when that station went down. So, it's in a bit of a transition phase. I just hope there's some way to get Darren back on the airwaves here, because I miss my 3 hours of the D. Smith show.
Yeah,
every day.
that midday was awesome, and you saw what he could do. I don't know if you watched it, but when he hosted the Rich Eisen show a couple weeks back, that was very impressive. Thomas, as a San Diego transplant, you've obviously been here for years. What do you think about this situation?
Well, when I came here, I thought the diversity of the hosts when I came to San Diego was amazing. I mean, I literally, like Brian, I listened to it 24/7. I started it off with, at that time, Scott and BR, and then the Jim Rome syndicated show. I know he started here locally, and then with Hartman and Bill Warndell, and then Haxa took me home, and it was basically, I loved the diversity, and just when you met with a group of sports fans, everybody had their own host, and you could basically bag on each other on the host, and
totally.
And I just loved Scott and BR in the morning, because they really took a hold of this town, and I went to a few of their events, and I still have one of the T-shirts taken back to Q from the Broncos, that they had an event downtown at Spreckles, and I just loved their enthusiasm with the whole group, and that's where I met Darren Smith, because at one time he was their producer, and you can just tell by talking to him, and you're an enthusiastic college student / fan of the show, and but you can just see that guy was going to be a talent, and I agree with you. I think he has a talent. I don't always agree with his takes, but I think that's what makes him such a good host. Yeah. Is that you don't have to always agree with them. You don't have to read the manifesto and agree with it. You can and what I like about it is, on the show he'll let you argue him, and I always thought that was fair.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a place in my heart for the Scott and BR show. I have a cousin who was their producer for several years, Pratty, and so I would always communicate with him. He would wake up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning to produce their show for several years. So I always listened to them, even when they moved to the afternoons as well. And you mentioned Darren, just that several hour stretch. Hard to beat, and hopefully they bring it back in some form or capacity with 1090 coming back. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I think you mentioned 1360. I listened to them a lot more when the Chargers were still here.
Yeah.
They were much more relevant then, or as was any radio show.
Yeah.
But I think things kind of died down when they left. This is a terrible transition, but now the Chargers are in Los Angeles. The Madden ratings came out this week. And there were several players across the board that shared their frustrations with their Madden rankings, and one of them was Keenan Allen, former San Diego Chargers receiver, still with the LA Chargers, saying he wouldn't play the game ever again because of his lower rating. If you were a professional athlete, Brian, how would you react to your Madden rating?
I don't know. I think the thing that was most surprising to me about this is that they care so much.
Yeah, right?
That the Madden brand carries a lot of weight, clearly, but these players are getting so caught up in where their Madden rating is at. I don't understand. I wouldn't think that a video game would have so much of an effect, and where people would come out and put out videos about how they're upset about it and voice their displeasure. I would think if I was upset about my Madden rating, I would never tell anybody about it. I'd try to hide away, pretend like it was better, or get back in the gym. I don't know.
Yeah, disprove them. I don't think come back stronger.
Saying it out loud and making it into a thing, but I don't know. I'm also not a professional football player, so I'm not built with that mentality. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you right there, Thomas. Have you seen anything relating to these Madden ratings this week?
I think I don't get them, first of all. They're just so random, and I don't even use him as my springboard for my fantasy league draft. Should I pay more attention to the Madden rating? I mean, now this is like a whole new area of sports that I now have to get. And this analytics is just taking over little by little, day by day.
Madden Analytics.
That's the real war. It's these analytics.
That's pretty good.
Good stuff. It's top-rated quarterback, Patrick Mahomes with a 98, Brady with a 97. Then I think Phillip Rivers was the third highest quarterback, 94, and Drew Brees 93.
Those guys all had great years last year.
Mm-hmm.
So is it more a reflection of the year prior or what they think they're going to do this year? Because that looks to me like what the guys did last year and getting future credit for prior work done.
Seems like what you did the prior season is how you get your ratings. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, Keenan Allen, I saw that video. That guy he was driving. I thought he was going to go off the road the way he was just ranting.
Great stuff, guys.
Riveting, Andy.
Alrighty, let's. You have something to say?
No, I was just going to say on July 17th.
Yeah, July 17th.
July 17th is actually my anniversary with Alyssa, my fiance.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and we are getting married 1 year from today. Because it's our anniversary, we decided to get married on our anniversary. So as we were looking at venues, we had the date in mind. We knew it was going to be July 17th, which will be a Friday. And apparently it's no longer taboo to get married on a Friday. So
I wouldn't have known that.
Getting married next July 17th on a Friday. And so that's exciting.
Hey,
it's not in the sports world.
Hey, pop culture, baby.
Life, pop culture. Alyssa and I are getting married on July 17th, so we can keep our same anniversary. I can't remember multiple dates, you know?
Yeah, right. I like that. I feel happy for you guys. I do have a question. When are we going to talk about her allegiance to the San Francisco Giants?
Well, one thing I can tie in with her Giants allegiance is her entire family, being from the Bay Area, are Giants fans. And I won't call it an argument. I'll call it a discussion with one of her uncles. He was talking about the 2010 season as a Giants fan and how it wasn't an easy season for them. He's like, yeah, well, midway through the year, we had a 10-game losing streak, and that year was not all peaches, you know. But they won the World Series. They followed it up with 2 more in the next 5 years. So they won in 10, 12, and 14. And he had the audacity to tell me that was not a good season for them because they had so many hiccups along the road. I was like, yeah, we also had a 10-game losing streak that year, and we haven't been to the playoffs since. So, Giants fans frustrate me to a degree.
I do have this question for both of you.
Yeah.
Which fan base or team in general is more dislikable, the Giants or the Dodgers?
Totally the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers.
My only problem with the Giants is that it's kind of like my problem with Boston fans. They have gotten so used to winning that there's just this like arrogance about them, and they don't even celebrate the winning anymore. They just complain about not winning, and I just don't understand that. But my team has never won. Like I told you, the Lakers I consider my basketball team, but I also never feel like my team has won because it doesn't represent my city.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they bother me, but Dodger fans, are just more the Dodgers, not their fans. I don't want to take it out on like Valentine or some people that I really like. A lot of my family from LA that are Dodger fans, but I just can't stand the Dodgers. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an LA inferiority complex or what, but I would root for the Giants if they were in the postseason, and I root against the Dodgers no matter what.
So that's a hot take right there. Thomas, what about you?
Well, I always think I come from a fan base that everybody hates because I've been called every name in the book from here to Seattle. So I'm used to it. I've been called arrogant. I've been called cheap. I've been called, you just buy pennants. So I get it. I understand it. And I never try to defend the Yankees. I'm just I'm just like, that's how we are, and I just come to live with it.
Hey, that's good. Got to own that.
Yeah, so I get it. But as far as being a Padre fan, I hate the Dodger fans, especially when they come to Petco. Because they make it like it's Dodgers South, and I'm just like, hit the road, Jack.
And they tell you about it every time, too. Like, oh, this Petco is Dodger Stadium South.
Yeah.
Shut up.
And then usually they gather outside and tell you what a great deal they got from a season ticket holder on StubHub. And I literally want to snatch the ticket away and run.
But we're not bitter at all.
I have a slightly different take. So I grew up here in San Diego for about a decade, so the Dodgers were always the team I hated the most.
Yep.
But then I moved up to the Sacramento area for another 10 or 12 years. So I accumulated a lot of friends in high school and college who were hardcore Giants fans. And early on, it was in the days of Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent and Rich Aurelia just killing our early 2000s Padres team. And then it got even worse with the World Series for the Giants. So I think for me, it's just I have so many friends who I wouldn't call them arrogant, but are just those annoying Giants fans. And I think the hatred, the dislike for the Giants grew on me. So being back here in San Diego for the last several years, it's kind of equal, I guess. But yeah, for a time, it was definitely the Giants.
So maybe it's based on what's more in your face.
Yeah.
Like if I was with Alyssa at the time of the Giants' dynastic run, then maybe I would despise that because I'd see them cheering in my face every chance they can.
Yeah.
Going to parades and kind of like the Warriors.
All right, let's end that conversation.
All right.
That depressing conversation. We'll end it with probably the biggest event happening this weekend in sports, the British Open.
Yep.
The last major of the 2019 calendar season for the PGA. How interested are you guys in this event this year?
My interest in a golf event pretty much revolves around after Friday, who's where on the leaderboard. Yep. And if Phil is in the mix, I'm 100% in on the tournament. It could be the Valero or the Shell Houston Open, and I'm going to be paying attention to it if Phil's in contention. Mm-hmm. If it's the British Open and Phil, Tiger, to a lesser degree, like Rory, maybe even Brooks Koepka at this point, just because of the run he's been on, then I'll pay attention. But if it's a leaderboard of people that I'm not terribly interested in, especially the fact that it's going to be on at like 5 a.m., then no thank you.
I get you there. I'm fairly interested in it just because it's the last major and it's really the last relevant golfing event for a couple months here before the FedEx final and the President's Cup. So I'm interested in it. I think Rory has the best odds, 8-1. So I think he can get some work done there. You talked about Phil Mickelson. There's always that San Diego tie there. Another up-and-coming young golfer, Xander Schauffele, from just down the road at San Diego State. I would love to see him win a major. He finished second in the 2018 British Open, and he's been top 10 in some other majors. So I'm going to predict that he wins this week.
Oh, baby. Ooh. Prediction time.
Nice.
Thomas, any other thoughts on the tournament? Any other favorites for you?
Yeah, I would love to see Brooks Koepka do it this year and just show his dominance because it seems like this guy is the true epitome of the next kind of Tiger mentality, or he grew up in that era of watching Woods because all he does is just play phenomenal in these majors. He doesn't do anything in all the other tournaments, and I love that because my interest peaks during these majors, and he does a tremendous job. I think for Rory, it's going to be kind of hard because he's going to his home course, and I would love to see him do it, but I just don't know how that atmosphere feels when you have to play your best in front of family and friends. And I'm going to go long shot for me is Mark Leishman. I think that's
that is a long shot. Hey, I at least we know the name.
Yeah, that is a golfer.
Let's talk Koepka though. He's
by the way,
his
whole Koepka spiel sounded like it was coming straight from a Yankee fan. So he hasn't completely rid himself of his New York roots.
He's won 4 of the last 9 majors. like you said, he gears up basically for the majors. He even said majors are easier to win than other golf tournaments.
Well, yeah, because he's never won another one. He doesn't know how.
And there's less people in the field, yada, yada, yada. But he's such a weird personality. Like, there's Tiger, who is, during his run, was so energetic and just a big personality. Koepka is just so quiet, so to himself, but he's this dominant player throughout the world.
Yeah, some people call that boring. But his play is anything but boring, and he just goes in and handles his business. Did you guys see that this week he ghosted Tiger Woods?
Yes, I heard about that.
Tiger wanted to play a practice round with him, and Tiger texted him, and just crickets on the other side, no response whatsoever.
Well, he claimed that he doesn't practice, and I don't buy that, because everything I've ever read about golfers is they love going early in the week to see where the toughest shots are going to be for the round, for the entire 4 days that they're out there. So don't tell me that you just roll out of bed and go, Thursday morning, what time is my tee time, and I'll see you then.
If not practicing was the way to get good at golf, I'd be really good.
Right? I agree.
The number of times I've practiced golf that wasn't like playing an actual round, I probably have one hand that I could count all those times on.
Certainly.
The last time Phil was in contention of the British Open was 3 years ago. And was he competing against Henrik Stenson in that like head-to-head battle?
I do not recall.
Oh, man. This is going to bother me if I don't figure out who it was. I think it was Stenson, but they went wire to wire, the two of them in the lead, and they were like 10 strokes ahead of the field. I actually woke up at maybe 3 o'clock in the morning that Sunday to watch, and I watched every single minute of that action. So if something like that happened again and there was two guys running away with it and there was some kind of tie-in like a Xander or Phil or something, Tiger even, then I'll get up. But otherwise, I mean, the tee times tonight start at like 9 p.m. our time. Like Wednesday night golf. Yeah, sign me up.
Talking about Phil, if you don't follow him on social media, he is amazing. He's got these videos on Twitter and Instagram, Fireside with Phil. I absolutely love him.
Me too. I think he's the best social media follow in the history of professional sports.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
So good.
Thomas, you look like you're about to say something about that.
Oh, no, I agree with Phil. I mean, he's just phenomenal. I'm happy that he's kind of gotten a little bit of a second win in his career. You know, I thought a lot of people counted him out, especially last year when he had that match play with Tiger on Thanksgiving weekend, and he came through. And I was so psyched that he did that. And I agree with you, Brian. When he's like in the top of the leaderboard, I do pay a little bit more attention. And even on the other events too, the obviously not the less major ones. I'll definitely tune in if I hear he's having a great round, just to kind of watch it.
You want a prediction?
Yes, I was just going to ask.
All right. My prediction is if we keep this podcast going for 2 years, Phil Mickelson, in that 2-year span, will be a guest on this program.
By the time he's 50 and playing on the Champions Tour.
He will be a guest on this. Yep, that's my call.
That's a bold prediction right there.
I just take one of his KPMG hats.
Just write it down, baby.
You may have seen in one of his videos he posted, he went on like a week-long fast or something and lost 15 pounds. So, maybe he's set up for this week.
I'm ready, babe. Oh, and my other prediction is Phil's going to win.
Oh, okay. So a little San Diego bias.
We got Phil and we got Mark Leishman.
There's some random picks for you.
Come on now, I said Brooke Hesper first. I said my long shot.
Yeah, but long shots are always the winner here. It's Del Mar, it's racing season, okay? Thomas is going to Vegas, and he's putting down $1,000 on Mark Leishman.
Complete the circle.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, one final question regarding golf. Phil's, getting up there in age. Tiger as well. Maybe has a few more years, depending on how his body holds up. After that, what do you think about golf? What do you think about the future? Are there guys that are watchable that can carry it going forward?
Yeah, I do. I think there's about 4 or 5 players that can kind of have taken the torch, and I think they're competitive right now. I thought the U.S. Open in Pebble Beach was the most competitive I've seen in a long time. I mean, that final round was, I thought, captivating. I watched almost all of them.
Mark Leishman and Lucas Glover. Just kidding.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
No, I really do. Oh my gosh, I hope Mark Leishman wins. This would be so
I will
awesome.
post this video everywhere I possibly can.
Yep. No, I don't know. I'm just such a big Phil fan that it's hard for me to even think about another. I think of him as like a team. Mm-hmm. Like I root for him the way I root for our teams, and it's hard for me to have another team when he's still playing. So until he does ride off into the sunset and join the Champions Tour and win 20 of the first 22 events he plays in there, I'm still Team Phil, and I can't really get behind anybody else. But I do agree with Thomas. I think there's a lot of talent and guys who are doing things that, there's just more of them. It's more competitive. Mm-hmm. Maybe if one or two guys can step to the forefront and kind of become the next Tiger and Phil, and that's always been the best time in golf, when there's a couple guys that are dominating and everybody's gunning for them, and I think there's a chance we see that.
It does amaze me that a guy like Bubba Watson plays dominant, and then you don't hear from him for
a lot of these guys just have the 2-3 year run.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Spieth, another one who started off so hot, had a couple majors, and
DJ.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson, for as well as he's played, he was number one for maybe a year and a half or 2 years, only has one major.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's something that's surprising to me.
Ever since he fell down the stairs, he hasn't been the same.
At Augusta. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think the turning point to me with Dustin Johnson was that ruling. Was it in Washington at that course?
I think it was in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay, where it didn't seem like a bunker and he got penalized 2 strokes. That derailed not only that tournament and his chance to win. Mm-hmm. I mean, he would have won if it hadn't been for that ruling, but it's kind of derailed his career. I don't know. We haven't heard much from him since that in these big tournaments, and I don't know. That may be some mental thing that is tough to get over.
Yeah, and a lot of people thought he was going to win Pebble Beach, and he really just didn't have it 4 consistent days at all.
Yeah, he's always played good there, but not this last time. All right, gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for episode number 3.
All right.
Any final words?
Phil, Brian just put the challenge out to you. Show up here at McGregor's.
I know you're watching and listening to this, Phil.
Hey, I got him. He's coming.
Speaking of such, we are live here every week at McGregor's. Mm-hmm. Great spot to be. We're getting up on social, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And, hey, you can listen to us audio-wise on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So watch out. The Best Coast Sports Connection is coming at you hard and fast. That's going to do it for episode number 3.